To prepare my buttonholes for sewing, you can faintly see that I have the dots that I transferred over. And one of them is a little crooked, so when I sew that, I'm gonna make sure I'm making it straight. It doesn't matter so much Now I need to prepare my buttonholes Now I need to prepare the front of my hoodie for the buttonhole. So I have the dots that I transferred over, and you can see this one is just a little crooked. It's not quite perpendicular. The line that would make isn't quite perpendicular with the edge of my hoodie. So I'm going to kind of straighten that out as I mark this so that I know to keep it straight. And I'm going to use some masking tape because I don't want to mark anything permanently on the front of my hoodie because then I would always see it. So I'm going to use this piece of masking tape to mark where I want the bottom of my buttonholes to be. And it's also 1 inch, which is handy because I want to make sure that I have a 1 inch space right here that I can fold under, because at the end, one of the last steps is going to be to fold this all under 1 inch and then sew. So that will be our hem. So this masking tape will make sure that I have 1 inch. You should never be overlapping. Like I shouldn't have any masking tape hanging off the edge because I need to have at least 1 inch. So I'm going to line this up with the bottom dots. And if they're not quite straight with each other, this one's a little bit lower, I'm going to pick the one that seems best and I'm going to go with that one. So this one was a little bit higher and I went with that one so that I'd have a little more space for my 1 inch fold later. And I'm marking this. This is where I'm going to stop. And now I need to mark the top. So I'll take some masking tape to mark the top. And I'm going to line it up with my 2 top pieces right here. My 2 top dots, which you can maybe see. Let me zoom in. I'm going to line my masking tape up with my 2 top dots. Okay. Now that I've marked the bottom, I'm going to do the same thing with the top. So I have my 2 dots right here that you can kind of see, and I'm going to line a piece of masking tape up with those 2 dots. So if I line it up with them right now, you can see that it's not quite parallel. I want my 2 pieces of masking tape to be parallel, so I'm going to fix it and kind of find the middle ground between the 2 dots and mark like that, so that my 2 buttonholes should be the same length, and they should be about a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to make sure that's about 1/2 inch. Ready to go. Now I can't really see where my 2 buttonholes are going to be. At this point, I can't really see exactly where my buttonholes are going to be. I can see this dot, but then my other ones are kind of hidden, so I might need to peel it back to see exactly where they are. And then I'm going to mark with a marking pencil or just a regular pen or something that will show up. I have my 2 pieces of masking tape ready to go, and now I just need to know exactly where my buttonholes are going to be, because now I can't really see where the buttonholes are going to be. I can see how tall they need to be, but not where they need to be. I have this one that I can go off of. But I'm going to pull this back a little bit, and I can kind of see right here is one of them. So I'm going to draw a line right there. So I know that's where I'm going to line up with, and then I'll find my other one, which is right over here, and draw a line there. I'll make sure that those are pretty centered on my hoodie front. So if I look at my whole hoodie pocket right here, I want those to be pretty centered. So if I fold my 2 corners of my hoodie together, then those 2 lines should be close to each other. If they're not, then I need to adjust that so that everything will be lined up. So I'm going to take the 2 corners of my hoodie again, line them up, unfold a little bit, and now you can see that my 2 lines are pretty close. They're a little different, but pretty close. So we'll call that good for right now. I want those to be centered. Now that I've drawn these 2 lines, I want to make sure that they're centered on my hoodie. So I'm going to take the 2 corners of my hoodie, 2 bottom corners, and match them up, and I'll just fold everything in half like this. Then I'm going to keep this side pinched, and I'm going to open it up a little bit to see if these 2 lines line up. If they line up like this, then that means they're centered on your hoodie. If they're not lined up, then you're going to want to adjust them so that they are. So you can move one way a little bit and another way a little bit till they are lined up like this, because that means that they're centered. Next, I'm going to take my seam gauge And I'm going to line it up so that it's perpendicular to the edge of the bottom of my hoodie. You can also use a clear ruler for this. That'd be a little more accurate. I'm going to make sure that I have a straight line, and then I'll just mark a line up here. I'll do the same thing over here where I have a straight line perpendicular to my edge. And then I'll draw a straight line on the other side. I don't want to draw on my fabric. The reason I'm drawing on my masking tape is so that I don't have permanent markings on the front of my fabric. But these lines are going to help me line up where I want my buttonhole to be. So when I sew, I'm going to sew straight in line with these two lines. And when I get to the masking tape, I'm going to end my buttonhole, and then it'll sew back up and finish my buttonhole for me. So let's go over to the sewing machine, and we will do those. We'll sew the buttonhole. You're going to need to get a buttonhole foot in order to sew it. So grab one of those and then head to your machine.